other than to say he was a great guy and I was very fond of him.
Robert Redford, talk about your environmental politics. I mean, you have long been a champion of the environment. You've testified before Congress. You're on the Board of Trustees of the Natural Resources Defense Council. But start by describing Utah for people to understand what this place is who aren't from here.
Well, Utah is a composite made up of two parts. Its physical part and its political part, which has very close alignment with its religious part. Its politics are very closely aligned with its theocratic stance, which I don't share. I don't demean it or I'm not against it, I just don't share it. Its physical place is one of the best places on earth because of the variety in the landscape. And I came here principally because of it. And the environment simply started as a kid that I was very much in the environment because there wasn't anything else to do. You know, you went to the ocean because that was the nearest thing. So you learned to surf, that was the thing you did. Or going to the Sierras. And I just fell in love with nature and the environment. But I could also see, it's like this slow, it's almost like a shadow creeping across just before the sun goes down and turning things into darkness. I could see a big part of the West being overtaken by development. And Los Angeles was the first because it seemed to be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for so many people. They wanted to get there. But I grew up there, so there was no magic for me. Hollywood was there, so it was not a place I looked at from a distance. I love movies. But Hollywood, in terms of myth, did not interest me because I was there. And so, but I valued the beauty of it, and then I saw it being wasted with overdevelopment and so forth. So I started to go somewhere else. That eventually took me to Utah because it was the least developed in 1960. Now it's overdeveloped, like everywhere else. But I just decided to buy a little land there and try to preserve what I could, because then I could at least control that part of it, some little piece of nature. And that's how it all started, with 2 acres of land and building a cabin on it. And then I kept buying more and more from the sheep herder and to protect myself.
From?
I'm sorry?
To protect yourself from?
Development. So finally, we got 5,000 acres, and it goes against the Forest Service. So there's a large chunk of land that I know can be protected, and the wildlife, the ecosystem can be preserved. But all you have to do is drive around here and look around to see the sensibility that controls, which is manifest destiny is alive and well.
Your thoughts about that student, Tim DeChristopher, from the University of Utah, who went in and monkey wrenched
I thought that was so great.
Auction and tried to buy up land? Well,
what was so great about that was the humor involved with it. I mean, because I do believe in trying to have a sense of humor, even though the fight's uphill most of the time, you know, try to have a sense of humor about it. And the fact that that guy pulled such a stunt on a stunt that was trying to be pulled by Bush against the public and the public domain, I thought, boy, one stunt defeating a dumb stunt, that's pretty great.
But now he's going to trial. He faces years in prison.
I certainly hope not. I would certainly, well, I don't know, I hope not.
Your assessment of President...
I think the person who should go to prison is the guy that was going to try to sell the lease. That's what I think.
Your assessment of President Obama?
A very smart man. I think he has done some really good things, particularly in areas that I'm concerned about. I think education is extremely important. I think the environment is extremely important. I think the arts are extremely important. I think his heart and his mind are really right on in all those areas. He's fighting his own party. And I thought that he made the mistake of thinking that bipartisanship could win the way when it should have been clear from the get-go that was not ever going to be in the cards. That fear was the card likely to be played, in anger, and that the Republican Party, once they lost their moderates, you knew what you were going to get, a barking dog, and it was going to be barking loud and angry and focused on fear at just the time the recession started. So therefore, it was probably going to work, and that he needed to, I guess you know what I thought? I thought, he's obviously in a very rough time, and now he's got his own party subdivided, and they don't know how to tell the story that should really be told, and they didn't tell it soon enough. And the story that's being told on the other side very well and very loud is the wrong story, in my mind, and this is my personal opinion. But what I was thinking about, I was thinking, look what happened 9 years ago now, that when the prior administration came into power, I never thought that was a legitimate election. Again, my personal opinion. When I saw the role the Supreme Court played in it, I got really concerned. If the court goes right, goes too far right, our own Constitution is going to be in trouble. Well, when they got to power, they suddenly had both houses, the bully pulpit, and the Supreme Court. They had everything. And boy, did they use it. And they just went for it. And they played it tough. They say, you're either with us or against us. We got the political capital, we're going to use it. So that tough line, I believe they thought carried weight with the American public. And I think it does, to be tough, to be strong. And I think Bush was probably coached to be tough, to be the cowboy. And so had the Obama administration, which I don't know much about the characters in it, but had that administration taken the same tack, say, we have the political capital, the public has voted us in here because they didn't want what Bush was putting into place because of the destruction. Had they played the same game the same way, who knows what difference. But there was too much softness. There was too much willingness to be bipartisan, to negotiate with a party that wasn't going to do that. And I think we lost a lot of traction.
And finally, what would you like to accomplish now?
I would just like to make more films and continue to have the space in between to enjoy the life that I have, which I enjoy, and make sure that nature is always a part of it.
Well, Robert Redford, thanks very much for taking this time.
It's a pleasure.
Actor Robert Redford, founder of the Sundance Film Festival here in Park City, Utah, where we'll be broadcasting throughout the week. Michael Moore tomorrow. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Berkshire, Rufa Kadus, Aaron Mate, Anjali Kamat, Steve Martinez, Nicole Salazar, Hani Masood, Rabbi Karen, Peter Curry's our engineer. Special thanks to John Hamilton, Julie Crosby, Becca Staley.